y'all have anything more to report, and then I want to pose some questions.
I have a
if
question
may.
for Tim.
I don't have anything more,
Okay.
except
Tim,
to
do
say
you-
that we are moving ahead.
Okay.
I know where Dan was going with his thoughts, and that would be the perfect situation, I
And
think.
that's what I was thinking. If you
This-
had that smart tote, where then you would you'd have to remove that base rate back out of there, and then you'd be paying the fee as whether it's your 35 or 95. I mean, it's going to be larger for that larger tote. I mean, whether it's full or not, if you've got that 95 and you put it out, you're going to be paying for that.
Yes.
But, if you've got these smart ones, you'll be paying Tom's zero option, and basically as they come and get it, that's your tag price that we have now. Or,
And it
or
may-
whatever the price may be. But.
It may be possible to do something along those lines and possibly even put a different colored lid on a 35-gallon cart so that LSI knew that person wasn't paying.
That's not a regular.
Not a regular weekly customer,
A
but
weekly,
when
that's
he's out, we capture that through the route management. And that's something that I haven't really explored, but it may be a good option.
Yeah, that way you're not having a dozen different sizes. You can still stick to the three,
Right.
When you don't have as much
and then they can just
infrastructure.
use that as they need it, and that's an interesting concept.
Because, and again, moving forward I wouldn't mind seeing us explore the single stream and having the same rollout set up for that. I mean, and I don't know if their trucks do that. I don't think that they've got trucks that do that yet, but,
Yeah, and we're, like I said, we're not proceeding with single stream at this point.
right.
As Tim indicated, if there is
If we can't get the solid waste worked out, we may just flip over and do single stream on the recycling and see if that's easier.
Understand,
Then Tom will be arguing for larger and larger cans.
There you go. We are though, with the discussion of not having a volume every week, then obviously we will have to go back and rethink base rates, things like that, because our system was set up on
Right.
everybody having a certain capacity every week.
I mean, obviously, there are people that's the way they do it, is they buy tags.
Sure.
So if they had the different lid, and whether that means, okay, I'm at this address, punch the button, or however the route management software works, that would be, okay, we've done it this week. The 1 out of the 3 weeks is what we've got for 811 North Almond, or whatever address it is.
I've seen you. Gary?
Yeah, if I
Same
can
discussion.
make a quick comment about that too. The route management software has, Tim can give you statistics on it, but we have recouped a lot of
It's paid for itself.
Yeah, a lot of capacity of garbage that was being put out that people were exceeding, not putting cans or tags on, or they were exceeding their amounts. We've had numerous customers come in who were perhaps 1 can per week, when in fact their volume was evidenced consistently was 2 to 3 cans per week. So people are finding what the true volume system was meant to do. So, I mean, we're getting there. It's been in transition. Tim's done a great job of managing that just in the couple of years since he's been here.
Don, did I see your hand?
It's hard to sit back here and stay quiet, but
You're doing a great job.
well, we just finished the rate study this 2012 fiscal year, and in the rate study, it was defined the fact that we would not be able to raise residential rates for 3 years. I want to emphasize the fact that what Gary mentioned earlier is that we would have to go back in front of, because Tim's right, this software will do just about anything, but there's a cost to it, as Gary pointed out. So as we filter out what it is that the direction we're going to be going, rates may not be at the flat rate that we're talked about for residential. Yeah. That's all I wanted to comment on.
Okay, thank you, Don. You had something?
Yeah,
that was
mine's the same.
Slightly different topic?
No, it's not. It's the
Okay,
same topic.
same one.
I was trying to follow up on what Dan was saying, and I think it's the same thing. But the question that we've heard a bit is, does the equipment weigh the garbage cans as it gets dumped
No.
in. So it doesn't have that capability.
No.
So if somebody throws out 35 gallons worth of styrofoam, they're going to pay the same rate as somebody that's
it's
putting out a
Correct.
garbage can
Volume,
full
not a
of
weight
dirt.
system.
Although we are charged by weight when we ship it.
The city
and that
pays
was,
for the weight.
I understand,
And
right.
that's
so
why I
that-
like the idea of everything's got a lid.
Right,
You know,
so-
we're not paying for water weight.
Right, which may benefit from this. I mean, that's the whole reason why we're going with the lid thing, is we think it's going to increase our
Not
savings.
only that, but we'll be dealing with the stormwater issue here in the
Right.
upcoming years. And, when you're setting bags out and, if a bag
Right.
becomes ripped
Ripped
and then
and
you've
it
got
dumps
that
stuff into
rain-in
it.
fluid, and it should help with that
And
as well.
so to continue with that, so then if we only went with a 35-gallon thing and somebody wants to put one out every 3 months or whatever, I mean, if they really truly only have a tiny bit of trash, if we put it out in 3-month increments or 1-month increments or whatever, and it's picked up much less frequently, we could potentially bill that way. As it sounded like you and Dan were
That's-
saying.
yeah.
The problem with that system, though, is if somebody is a meat eater and they have a small amount of trash, but there's meat waste or, like a chicken wrapping or something like that, it's going to be stinky in a week, and you still want to stick it out on the curb. But it's, this much garbage, not that much garbage.
Drive it to the transfer station, pay $10 and give it to them.
Right. I'm talking about efficiencies in
I
this
know
whole
what you're
thing.
saying.
And this
I know
current
what you're
system
saying.
works if we're being flexible. If our flexibility is limited to 3 sizes, then we're not doing anything to help create incentive for people to reduce waste. We're doing something, but we're not doing as much as we could.
Okay. Gary,
So I'm trying to understand the limitations of
we
the
are
system.
moving-
And I keep hearing questions about it.
we are moving what I thought was a done deal and hung up over lawyers and contracts back towards square one to talk about what do we want to do when we grow up. How do we move this forward?
Well, my anticipation,
I do not, just to interrupt,
Okay.
I do not believe that the Sustainable Environment Commission is going to create and come to us with a solution. We'll say, why didn't we think of that? That's the perfect answer. Let's all vote yes and we move ahead, unless you think they are. Do we need to go back to the drawing board? We've gotten a fair number of emails from people like Tom, who generate very little waste, say that they tag once every 6 months with one bag. I don't know what they do with a meat wrapper. I have no idea. They don't tell us that. But, so you put out hardly anything and seem to be afraid that if we put out a 35-gallon container, they will go out and rent or buy garbage to put in it to fill it up, which I don't believe. How do we get traction under this whole discussion? We don't have it now. We're not making real progress with the contract. The discussion of volumes with zero and bags and tags and all this just keeps growing like my garbage does.
yeah. Well, if I may, these issues were all discussed when we first started this, and we brought them to the council and talked about them in the workshop. Do we continue the tag system? And as you indicated, the tag system really doesn't work great. If you put out a bag, you might get water in it. You lose any advantages from automation. So we discussed that up front. We discussed more options for size. We used to have I don't know if we still have it, we used to have what's called a mini can that you could get back when we first started this system.
17
Oh, it was a
or
little
something like
bitty
that.
thing, 7.5 gallons or something like that. But to have a mini can, you also had the carryout service. So it's kind of a hybrid system. But in any of those, the more options you've got, the more expensive your system is. And so the idea was to get standardization and move ahead. Now, 35 gallons, there's no magic to it. That was just where Tim had done.
That was the size of the can they demonstrated with out here, right?
I think that Tom crawled inside out
Probably
there.
spent the night because he
Yeah.
wouldn't want to camp it or something.
I don't have room in my garage for something like that.
But we talked about the different sizes, and the fear was, and that's part of the, I guess, the beauty of the route management software that Tim's using now, because you get people coming in thinking that they're generating 1 can a week, when in actuality they're generating 2 to 3. Those people naturally, when you go to a rollout system, will look at the most inexpensive option and say, well, I only put out 1 can a week, therefore I'll get the 20-gallon can. We'll buy a bunch of 20-gallon containers. They'll soon find out that they're being charged for overages. They'll bring their 20-gallon pack back in, get a 35 or a 65, and we'll have a bunch of unused 20-gallon can inventory. So Tim worked with LSI and researched out with other jurisdictions. How do you guys go about doing that? So that's really the fear. There's no reason we can't get a different size of can that may meet Tom's issues. There may be some other options. So that's what Tim will look forward to and get some ideas from Sustainable Environment. I don't think we're up against the wall on this thing. I think it's just a question of, is there another option other than the one that's been sent out? There probably is. The question is, if we have a bunch of 20 gallons or smaller cans that people initially thought they could use, turn out not to be big enough, we're all going to pay for those in our rates. So it doesn't make sense having those out there if we can help that. That's why we're trying to put as much thought into it up front as we can.
Last August, when we put in the route management software, the first month, I wish I'd brought your spreadsheet with me, but I didn't. The first month, you had 2,300 charges for overages,
Roughly.
2,358.
Roughly.
Last month, in December, you had do you remember, anybody than I do, 790?
No, it was over 1,000.
Over 1,000? Does Don, you remember the number?
We've been averaging about 1,700 the first 5 months.
Okay, but I'm talking about